Welcome. The floor is yours.
Okay. So thank you very much for the invitation. In the next hour and a half, I will try to give you a short overview over our work, especially in the field of wooden construction. I will present you two buildings from my office, which were built in the last years. Both are wooden buildings, but very different projects. So this is the first time I'm doing this in English, so please excuse any language problems. So, wood is a natural material. It has been used for thousands of years as a building and heating material. Wood is natural and grows back. Wood is very light, easy to work with, and has been used for all kinds of buildings since early times. On these pictures, you can see pile dwellings that were built several thousand years ago at Lake Constance, near where I live. There are many good reasons to use wood as a building material. Wood is the only material that can store carbon. There is a need for action on climate protection and global warming. Both have become much worse in the last decade. Wood constructions offers very good conditions for this. In addition to all the climate aspects, there are also other reasons for using wood in architecture. Wood is familiar to humans. The color, the feel of the material and the taste. Buildings made of wood smells familiar. When you look at these pictures, you can literally smell the wood. This aspect, the sensual aspect, interests me just as much. But first, I would like to show you buildings made of wood. I have picked 3 buildings that have always inspired me and still do. The first house was built by architects Herzog and Dumoulin. They were one of the first to return to the quality of wood. Tired of postmodernism, they built in 1988 an urban residence in Basel using wood. The building moved wooden architecture away from the rustic cliché. The simple use of the material was trend-setting for a new architectural style. Wood was used again in architecture. Even after more than 30 years, the building has lost none of its charm and for me is still one of the best buildings they have built. The next building is the Chapel of St. Benedict in Graubünden by Peter Zumthor. He has always built with wood. His buildings are inspired by traditional wood construction. The Chapel of St. Benedict is an example of this sensual approach to wood. Time leaves its marks and the building becomes much more beautiful as a result. The third and final building is the Holzfachschule in Biel, also in Switzerland, by the architects Meili and Peter from Zurich. It was the first really large wooden building in the late 1990s in Switzerland. This building has inspired a whole generation of architects, myself included, for the use of wood as a material. Now I would like to present you the examples from my office. In both, wood is the material. I would like to start with the transformation of an old factory in Meurschwil. It's near St. Gallen. There are about 4,000 people living in the village. There are mostly new family houses next to some old buildings, which is typical for the suburbs. The building of the old factory is the longest building in the village. It's clearly visible here on the map. The factory was built in 1907 and was used as an industrial facility for over 100 years. Different products were made in it. At the beginning, it was embroidery. Then, after the Second World War, Swiss chocolate was produced in the factory, and later on, until about 10 years ago, model trains were built by the company Haag. That's a very famous Swiss brand. Now it has been empty for the last few years. The factory building should now be demolished and replaced by the usual large-scale development. We propose to save the historical building and transform it into residential buildings. So this is a view into the empty factory building. The outside walls are made of bricks. In the middle of the building, there are iron columns, and the roof is made of wood. The long building was extended by an additional floor in wooden construction and split into 9 apartments. On the ground floor, there are living rooms and a kitchen. The bedroom and bathroom are located on the new floor above. I will show the apartment floor plan in better details later on. In the basement, there are cellar rooms and an additional parking for car was built. So here you can see the cross-section of the building, the existing factory building with the basement, and the new parking in front, and here the new floor above. An outdoor area for each apartment will be built on the ceiling above the parking. These pictures, you can see the facade with the new floor facing the street. This is the new part of the building. The other side with the cross section through the parking. And the apartment entry is from this side. Here the new floor on the old factory building. So the new floor above the main building, the new structure overhangs slightly on one side to form a covered entrance. Here is the new parking with the additional outdoor area and the stairs to the entry. Here's the parking lot. So the whole project as an aerial view. First, the existing building as it was made in 1907. Those are the new elements we have added. The car parking in front and the supporting structure with wooden walls on the ground floor. So then a new ceiling also made of wood. And the new floor with the additional rooms. So the old building with the additional floor and the parking in front. The single stairways lead to the entries of the apartments, and each apartment has a covered outdoor area. The ground floor layout from an apartment. You have the entrance on this side. The kitchen is in the middle of the room. You have a dining area and a living room. So the whole room is about 100 square meters, and there's an elevator in each building. The floor plan on the upper level, we have 2 master bedrooms. We have a large bathroom in between. A guest bedroom on this side with their own shower. There's a terrace on each side, one of this side and one for those 2 rooms. In the basement, there is a direct entry from the car parking into the house. It also has a laundry room and a storage room, big one. The cross section, we have the old part. The room height is in the ground floor is almost 5 meters. And because of the height, there is a long staircase to the upper floor, so they are glad about the elevator in each house. The construction plan of the wooden building. So the whole new part is wooden construction. You see here all the details from this construction. So I will now show you a few pictures of the finished building. This is the view into the transformed hall with kitchen and with the old iron column and the new wooden ceiling. The floor is a concrete ground floor. So this is how the hall looked before the transformation. You have in front the iron column and the 2 windows in the back and the old ceiling. The same room with a view in the opposite direction into the garden, the kitchen and the iron column. On the upper floor, each room has its own outdoor space. This room extension is an element that we like to use in a lot of our buildings. Here. The front layer as an architectural element gives the room an additional dimension. From the outside room, you have a great view to the Lake of Constance. You see it here in the back. Here you see the outdoor space with covered seating area, and behind is the entry stairs. Here you see the entry from the other side with the parking is here down below and the covered outdoor place. And up here is the new floor. So besides wood, we also have a great liking for concrete. So this picture shows why we are also fascinated by this material. Here the picture of the facade detail. So one unit includes 2 windows. So this is one apartment building. Here's the terrace for each of the apartments. View from the street of the renovated factory building with new upper floor. In the background, you have the main building. So this picture shows the old factory after completion in 1907 from the same point of view. Now I would like to present the second building, the Landwirtschaftliche Schule in Salez. It's an agriculture school, a school where farmers are graduated. Salez is a small village in the St. Galler Weintal in Switzerland. It's near the Lake Constance. As you can see, Salez is surrounded by 3 countries. This is Germany, Austria, and Liechtenstein. And the river, it's called Rhine, forms the border between Switzerland and Austria. The valley is mainly used for agriculture. Typical are the long rows of trees that run through the valley. They offer protection from the strong winds that blow through this valley. The winds are called Föhn, a warm wind that blows up to 100 kilometers per hour through this valley. To the side, the valley is bordered by high mountains. To the west side and to the river on the east. Salez is located below the Kreuzberge, which you can see on this picture. Those mountains are very popular for climbers. The elevation map with the school complex in the center of the picture. The Rhine, the river on the right side, and the mountains here on the left-hand side. So the whole complex is located in the middle of the agricultural plain, as you can see. It was built in the early 70s. On the right here you see the line. So view of the buildings from the 70s. On the left, the workshop building. On the right, the old school building. Between them is a narrow space. And view from the opposite side in 1984, another building, this one, was built in addition to the other rooms. So, and this is the beautiful view from the school complex into the countryside. In 2010, so much more schoolroom was needed. The canton of St. Gallen announced the architectural competition, which was won by our office. In these pictures, you can see the existing situation with the workshop building, the school building, and a residential building for the housekeeper. We proposed a new building at the edge of the plot. The whole building is 150 meters long. This creates more space between the workshop building and the school building. At the same time, temporary buildings are not required, which reduces costs. A look at the competition model. Our new buildings forms a counterpart to the workshop buildings. There's a large space between the two buildings. So the first stage, the 1984 building still remains, and this is the layout that's now built. Also here a look at the model. This is the new building, and this is the building from 1984. Here you can see the ground floor plan with the entrance hall. We have a dining room, a meeting room, industrial kitchen, a terrace, and classrooms on this side. And here are bedrooms for the students. The upper floor with classroom and group rooms. 2 classrooms share a group room, and there's a lounge area, and you have the second floor of bedrooms on this side. The third floor with bedrooms in this part, and the school rooms are only 2 floors but have more room height. In the basement, there's a laundry and a wine cellar. So the school produces its own wine, which is very tasty. They have already won several awards for their own wine. So here you can see the cross section. The school parts has 2 floors, and the bedroom section on this side has 3 floors, and there's one part has a basement. The static system. This is a bit difficult for me. I'll try to explain it as best as I can. I don't know all the technical terms. So the static system is from the office Merz and Clay von Dornbirn. The whole structure from the ground floor is a wooden construction. The 2-floor school building part is a skeleton construction, as you can see here. You have wooden columns along the facade and the central corridor, and they carry the load of the floor ceiling. The distance between the columns are 214, and the ceiling beams spans over 850. Above is a wooden concrete composite ceiling. It's called on German Betonverbunddecke. I don't know the exact words in English. In addition to the stiffening, the concrete provides the necessary energy mass. The 3-floor bedroom wing is different in construction from the classroom parts. Instead of the frame of columns and beams, elements were used for walls and ceilings. The ceiling part is also designed as wood concrete composite ceiling. And as I said, the system is designed by the office Merz and Clay. So the static structure is visible in the facade. So the facade is made of vertical wooden boarding. The weather parts are made of oak, so Eiche, and the weather protected parts are made of domestic white fear. I think it's Weißtanne. I think it's called white fear in English. So the entrance facade has balconies on the upper floor, and on the ground floor you have two entrances, one on this side and one on this side. Above you can see the facade of the boarding school, the bedroom part, which has 3 floors, and here is the school building with the 2 floors. So this is a wooden model scaled 1 to 100. There are models of every building in our office in different scales. They are very important for our design work. And we like the model in wood. This is a very nice material also for models. So the energy label is the key issue. So every country has different labels for buildings. In Switzerland, they are known as Minergie Eco. So all systems have in common that a lot of technology is used to create a pleasant indoor climate. Under the aspect of simplification, man has delegated responsibility to technology. So Werner Binotto, head of construction in St. Gallen, tasted several buildings in 2010, new buildings that are built to Minergie standards, but also older buildings. So the results were surprising. Older buildings from the 80s with little technical equipment did just as well than modern buildings that were constructed to higher standards. Even more surprising, however, was that the user in the older buildings were very much more happy with the indoor climate. For this reason, we had the challenge to design a simple building without much technical equipment. Our building is looking for other solutions that create a good working and learning indoor climate for the users with little technical effort. We were looking for a building without technology, which means no ventilation system, no automatic sun blinds. You have no motion detectors and no motorized window, and also no cooling system. The only thing that was allowed are windows operated manually by hand. And there is a heating system, it's wood chip heating with radiator heating. So we remember the words of Luigi Snozzi, who sadly died recently. On German, welche Energieverschwendung, welch ein Aufwand, um zu lüften, zu heizen, zu beleuchten, wenn ein Fenster genügt. So I try to translate this in the correct sense. What a waste of energy, what an effort to ventilate, to heat, to light, when a window is all you need. And there's a second one, Architektur muss man nicht erfinden, man muss sie nur wiederfinden. You don't have to invent architecture, you just have to find it again. So we have found the idea for ventilation in agriculture, more exactly in the old stables. Farmers are used to working with the weather. They have to deal with nature, with heat, with cold, with wind and rain. So the ventilation system of the old stables was the model for our ventilation concept. And how does it work? Air is let at the side in and let out through ventilation openings in the roof. Everything can be controlled with flaps. because the animals are very sensitive to air drafts. We try to apply this principle to our school building. We were looking for a system that would allow cross ventilation in all rooms. It should be possible to regulate this. So the ventilation system transferred to our school building with 2 floors. On the upper floor, the air is let in to a flap or to the window. Above, the central corridor is a weather-protected outdoor space. We call that buffer zone, where the air can escape through the windows. On the ground floor, the air is also let in through the windows or the flap. And the air goes up through a shaft, where it's also let in the buffer zone. Here is the floor plan of the upper floor. And all colored areas are the ventilation air shafts from the ground floor. You can see this. So what is important for a low-tech building made of wood? I have picked a few points. The first one is room height. In Salez, the rooms are 4.5 meters high. The rooms are about 1 meter higher than normal school buildings. This creates more space and more air volume. The second point are few windows. The number of windows must be reduced, and the windows must be well protected from the sun's heat by external sunshades. This is formed from balconies. And night cooling is very important. That means that in the summer, the building is ventilated at night. This must be possible in any weather situation, even when it's rain. The responsibility for the user grows if low-tech is used for the indoor climate. That means the most important point is that you need a good client who will take the responsibility for the low-tech concept. The cross-section through the facade, the overhead window that runs across the entire facade, is well shaded in the summer and provides enough daylight. The ventilation slots, as you can see here, they can be opened by hand for night cooling, and they are very well protected from rain. We have individual windows that can be opened for more ventilation, and wooden sunshade panels that can be closed by hand. We have a picture of the front in the summer. So the overhead windows are in the shadows of the balcony, and the panels are closed here on the upper floor, and on the ground floor they are still open. The plan of the middle zone, we call them buffer zone. It's weather protected, but outside climate. So the air can circulate freely in this space. The windows can be opened. And this is used to regulate the air volume, especially for the night cooling. In the right picture, a view into the buffer zone, you see open and closed windows here. They can be operated by hand with a crank handle. As you can see here, here's the open window. So here is a picture of this hand crank with steel cable. This also allows the windows to be opened from the ground floor, and this crank handle is made by a company in eastern Switzerland. View into a classroom, and here is the buffer zone. Walls and ceilings are made of wood. All indoor material is Weisstanne or silver fir. The floor is a Lehm-Kaseinboden, so I don't know exactly how it's called in English, maybe clay casein floor. It's a clay mixture which is refined with casein. This is a milk protein. View in the other direction. You have the skylight windows and the balcony doors. So the facade on a late summer day with all panels closed. The mountain behind, it's called Hohlkasten. You have a great view over the whole valley from there. So the entire project is supported by the building service for 5 years. During this time, the indoor climate is checked and the results are documented. So the results of the first year are very positive. You have the temperatures were around 22 degrees on average. As you can see, we're well below the 24 line. The results of the humidity are on average about 45%. This is in a normal range. And the CO2 content is on average 700. 1,500 would be allowed. The results are all in the similar range with the technical buildings, but the user is responsible. If ventilation is not enough, the CO2 concentration rise quickly, as you can see on the diagram. You have a schoolroom on this part with tremendous results. The landscape is very important in this concept. So a row of trees is planted in front of the building to bring additional shadow on this side. And also different types of apple trees are planted in the whole area. And in the middle of the country yard, there will be a planting field, also used for school building. So I would like to show you some pictures of the building. We started with the entrance side, in front the 2-floor school building, and behind the 3-floor bedroom building. Here you have the main entrance. The view of the main entrance on this side, in front the space of for the planting field. The landscape is not finished yet on this picture, but now in this summer is all be planted and looks very nice. The dining room with space for about 200 students, all in wood. We have all with Weisstanne, white fir. And the table here is designed by our office. And the chairs are from Holden-Glavus, a very famous Swiss manufacturer for So the meeting hall next to the dining room with the doors open. So the wooden construction is visible in the whole building. On the right side, another view into the dining room. The upper floor with lounge area and view to the outdoor terrace. This way. Also here is the floor material is a clay casein floor. It's in the whole building, except of the bedrooms. And the indoor material is all in wood. So for me, the most important room is the outdoor terrace, as you see on this picture. From my point of view, such a room can only be created with wood. It is like the heart of the building. View of the landscape. On the left side, one of my favorite pictures. So the construction is like a wooden pictured frame. On the right-hand side, you see the balcony and the outdoor terrace. Left side, the balconies in front of the classroom. And the picture on the right shows the 3-floor bedroom part. So the bedrooms are completely covered in wood. That means the floor, walls, and ceiling are all covered with silver fir. The view into the staircase, the wooden walls are finished with clay plaster, it's lame puts, and the pipes of the heating system are all visible, as you see on the right-hand side. The view into the flat of the housekeeper, it's like a small house with 3 floors, and it's still on the campus. So in Switzerland, it's usual to invest about 1% of the building costs in an art project. It's called Kunst am Bau. There was a competition among 3 artists. The winner was Elisabeth Nemberlini, an artist from Eastern Switzerland. And her proposal turns bees into artists, or at least sculptures. She created a model of the entrance hall scaled down to the size of a bee magazine. Those are normal bee magazine in this photo below left. On the right, there is a picture of the entrance hall as a model. So we have the view of the wooden model with the stair in it. The entrance opening is in the place where the main entrance is located in the original building, in the same place where the user are entered the building. So after 5 days, the artwork was completed. And this is what the bees' work looked like. They have 4 combs of different size, are built by the bees. In the next step, the honeycombs were scaled to the size of the original entrance hall and reproduced in wood. The whole sculpture was covered with wooden shingles, as you can see here on this image. So this is how the work of art looks like. The wooden combs hang in the same place that the bees have chosen. So wood as a material will still be in our interest. At the moment, we are planning more projects in wood, an event room in Alt St. Johann for people with handicaps. Planned is a visible roof construction, and the whole construction is made of wood. It hopefully starts next year. And the second, much larger project is a school building in Kuhl, in Graubünden. There is also a large sports hall with space for 1,500 people. The building is a wood construction and will be started next year. The finishing of the building is in the year 2024. So with these pictures, I'm at the end of my presentation, and thank you for your attention.